What if you've tried making a habit change, but you simply didn't have enough willpower and self-discipline to see it through to the finish? Natural conditioning models can permanently install a habit with just some short-term work, but what are we supposed to do when we don't even have the willpower to make it through the conditioning phase? In these cases we have to understand and harness the power of leveraging. To explain leverage, I want you to think about the root word of leverage, a lever. Like a seesaw, a lever is a long inflexible object, like a stick, that pivots on a central point or a fulcrum. If you push down on one end of the lever, the other goes up. If you can remember playing on a seesaw when you were a kid, chances are you understand this principle. The key to the lever is that by shifting the position of the fulcrum you can increase or decrease the amount of force needed to move the other object. If you've ever leaned back when on a seesaw, you understand how this seems to move you down faster even if your weight hasn't changed. Similarly, the idea behind leverage is that you are attempting to utilize a small initial amount of your willpower to set in motion huge changes. Commitment is leverage. You may have realized this already by now, but a large part of goal setting is based on the principle of leverage. The key to setting written down, clearly defined goals is so that you will commit yourself to action even when you want to turn back. In essence, you are leveraging a small amount of initial willpower to commit to the goal in order to leverage your action in the future. Commitment is a form of leverage. By writing down your goals and reminding yourself of your commitment, you are using leverage. This principle doesn't just apply to writing goals, however. There are many other ways to use leverage to commit yourself to action. Publicly announcing your commitment is an excellent form of leverage. Announcing your habit change will make you accountable to other people if you fail. It can take a small burst of willpower to take this step, but ultimately this will reduce the long-term willpower necessary. Because you don't want to look like a fraud, hypocrite or failure, chances are this small act will make your success far more likely. You can go to even more drastic examples as a method to gain incredible leverage. My favorite story about this details a Las Vegas casino boss who wanted to quit smoking. He had tried many methods but just couldn't seem to kick the habit. Knowing he needed to leverage himself to make his attempt successful, he had an idea. This idea was to put a large billboard up with his picture on it. Right next to his picture he wrote that he would pay anyone who caught him smoking $100,000. Do you think he quit? Definitely. By leveraging a small amount of willpower and money to set up the billboard, he gained incredible control over his habit. Getting a little more extreme in your leveraging techniques might mean the difference between success and failure. If you want to lose weight, try selling all of your clothes except one outfit and buy new clothes in your ideal size. Tell a friend you will pay him money if you don't go through with the habit. Put yourself on the line. Again, if you aren't sure whether you can go through with your conditioning phase, get massive leverage on yourself to ensure you will take action through the entire period. Pain and pleasure. Anthony Robbins frequently says that the reason people fail to take action is that they connect more pain to taking action than not taking action. I completely agree with this assessment. If you associate pain to changing a habit, then it is going to take an extremely high amount of willpower to create the change. Worse, if you believe that your habit change is going to cause lasting pain in your life, change will be impossible. Leverage is all about connecting pain to the idea of staying where you are and creating pleasure with the idea of changing. Conditioning a new habit is still an essential part of changing, but utilizing leverage can greatly reduce the need for willpower. If you link pain, not just to conditioning your new habit, but the habit itself, then don't even bother starting because you are doomed to fail. If you need to lose weight, but subconsciously you think healthy foods are boring, dull and unsatisfying and unhealthy foods are comforting and fun, you will never change your eating habits. Lasting change in this case requires that you switch what you connect pain and pleasure to. I have used this technique to leverage many of my habit changes, and I can tell you that it makes installing permanent changes far easier. Before I had started my vegetarian diet, I had read several books and many articles about diet and fitness. Initially I had thought that a vegetarian diet was a little extreme and perhaps a little unnecessary. After reading in depth on the effects that the consumption of animal products was doing to my body, after reading about the incredibly inhumane treatment of livestock and the disgustingly toxic chemicals used to create these products, that changed around completely. Instead of being something that I should do, changing this pattern became something I absolutely had to do. If you look at the difficult changes that many people have made, it was almost always the result of applying this principle. Difficult changes only occur when we finally cross the threshold from "I should do this" to "I must do this now." Don't wait for that threshold to cross itself naturally. Begin studying, visualizing and researching about the effects of your habits. Make the need for change so real and so convincing that it is a must, not a should.